welcome to Viking Preparedness. I'm Pastor Joe Fox. I got a question recently from a guy who said words to the effect of, how do I develop soldier skills without joining the military? And that's a tough question because it's a tough answer, and I don't like the answer, and I don't think you're going to like the answer. But it's a good question, and so we're going to deal with it. Here's the deal. Asking how to develop soldier skills without joining the military is kind of like saying, how do I learn to play football without joining a football team? You really can't, you know. The best way to develop soldier skills is to enlist in the Army under the Airborne Ranger option and go spend your time serving the nation, and when you come out, you're going to have awesome soldier skills, right? Or join the Marines and, become a Marine infantryman. And I know that every Marine is first and foremost an infantryman, but you know the deal, right? Become an infantryman in the Marine Corps. And when you get out, you'll have good soldier skills. But he's not going to do that, and I don't recommend people join the military. You know, I was in the military 20 years, and I enjoyed it. And I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad I made a career out of it. But I no longer recommend that people join the military. I have 3 children. None of them want to join the military, and none of them are going to join the military. Why is that? The people in the military are by and large good people. They really are. That's not the problem. The problem is how the military is used, and in many cases abused by the powers that be, who really look down their nose at the military and don't really care about the military. And so and then you can even go deeper into how our military is being used, and I'm not going there right now, but I don't particularly like it, right? And so I don't recommend people join the military. I don't. All right, that's gonna irritate some people, be that as it may. So, how do you develop skills if you're not going to join the military? Realizing that it's a team sport, military soldiers, and when I use that term soldier, Marines, please don't take offense, Semper Fi. I'm an Army guy, right? So I use terms like soldier, but let's just say, infantrymen. They possess a wide and deep skill set, right? Of many skills, from how to do tension pneumothorax, first aid, shoot, etc., etc., etc. But it boils down to 3 things: shoot, move, and communicate, right? And a good soldier can shoot, move, and communicate. A good unit will shoot, move, and communicate. And so, all right, let's talk about those. How do you learn to shoot? Well, when we talk shooting, we're not talking about sitting at a bench and shooting at 100 yards. We are talking about shooting rifles, right? And so you need to be able to shoot a rifle, and it means something more akin to being able to do 15 burpees, drop down on the ground, fire your weapon, and hit a man-sized target at 200 yards, roll to the left, get up, do 5 burpees, get down, shoot a target at 50 yards, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Know how to shoot from cover, know how to use different kinds of cover, different shooting positions, how to maintain your weapon, how to clear a jam on your weapon, I mean, there's a lot to it, right? There really is a lot to it that the average soldier picks up and is taught and is beat into him, but you got to learn those things. And so learn to shoot. Learn to shoot a rifle and shoot it well under a variety of conditions. Number 2, move. The first part of moving is being physically fit enough to move, right? Infantrymen, whether they're Army or Marines, are fit. Why are they fit? Because they have to be, but they're fit because of the way they train. They do physical training every day. Every morning they're out there doing push-ups and sit-ups and 2 to 6 mile runs and CrossFit and, obstacle courses, and they carry rucksacks for physical training, at least once a week, at least in my experience, right? And I'm sure it's very similar today. Today, a lot of units are doing physical training in body armor, right? Or with weighted vests. And so there's all that. They're very fit, and everyone can benefit from that, right? Get fit. Be able to move across vast distances of terrain quickly. All right, that requires fitness. But then getting into movement starts dealing with moving with other people, whether that's a buddy team, a two-man team, or a 4 or 5 man fire team, or a 10, 11 man squad, or 30-person platoon, 100-something person company, battalions, and there's different techniques, there's different ways of moving depending on what size unit is moving and through what they're moving. And you can't do that alone, right? You got to do that with other people, which are kind of stuck if you don't have other people. And then the final one is communicate. And communicating absolutely needs somebody else. It's a two-way thing, right? Send and receive. It does no good knowing how to use a high-speed radio if you don't have anyone to talk to. And so how do you get these skill sets? It's difficult, right, without joining the military. Back in the day, I knew some militia guys, sorta, and they were pretty good, they were pretty well trained, and there are militia type units that are out there that are good at probably up to squad or maybe section level tactics and stuff because they train, right, and they train hard. But the thing is, these types of guys don't advertise, right? You don't find them, they find you, and I don't know any, so I can't help you. The militia units that put out tables and have organizational meetings at the Rotary Club and stuff, man, let's just say there's a lot of people in those units that go home and write long reports after training is over and send them to their bosses. And you probably don't want to be in a unit like that or a group like that, so you're kind of hurting there. You could find in your neighborhood or, your community or something, a returning infantry NCO, right? Somebody who was probably an E6 or an E7 in the Marine or the infantry, Army infantry, seen combat, is skilled, knows how to teach people because that's what they did. They taught their men. And if you could get that person to take you under his wing and show you things, that would work. Learning how to shoot. You can learn a lot at shooting schools. The problem with a lot of the shooting schools back when I was going to civilian shooting schools, which was before this current conflict, the civilian shooting schools were civilian shooting schools. And their problem was they didn't know what they didn't know, and they had huge egos, because they'd been to like gun site 108 or 405 or whatever, and they thought they knew everything about guns, and they didn't, right? And that was a problem. Now, gun site may have changed. I mean, for all I know, they don't even exist anymore. I don't know. And for all I know, they have former Delta guys who are instructors now. But back in the day, back in the 90s, they just had civilians who could shoot their gun really good, but what they didn't know about tactics and procedures was really dangerous. But if you don't know anything about shooting, going to a civilian shooting school is probably a good idea. There used to be a website called, oh man, this was back around 2000. I don't know, Kissata, Kissata, and the guy there I thought had some pretty good ideas on training, and I think, again, it's been a while, I think his basic premise was get together with 2 other guys and practice these things, and he would give you things to practice. Now again, I don't remember the details. If this guy was some Looney Tunes conspiracy theory nut job, hey, I'm not saying I support, I don't even know who he is, right? But I think, as I recall, the guy had pretty good stuff on his website. So I don't even know if it's still out there. If it is, cool. If it's not, whatever. Do some research. You might learn something there. Another option is to become a private military contractor, and that's an option that's fraught with moral peril, right? But I think like Blackwater has a school, and there's probably other schools out there that you can go to as a civilian, and you'll learn some pretty good squad level tactics going to a school like that. Or there's a lot of former Delta SEAL Special Forces guys who are out there who are hanging out their shingles now, who are teaching, and if they've been to those kind of units, they know what they know, and they'll probably teach you pretty good stuff if you can go to some of their schools. So that's probably a way. Do I have any particular ones to recommend? I do not. I always got training thanks to your tax dollars, and so I never really thought about, where do I go to get training other than through the system that I was in. And then when I got out, I've trained some people, some things, but I decided early on it's just not an environment I really want to get involved in, and so I don't follow it. So sorry, I can't be horribly helpful there. But yeah, if you can find a vet, coming back, like I said, an E6 or an E7, staff sergeant, gunnery sergeant, something like that, um, they'd be probably helpful if they'd take you under the wing and teach you. Or maybe you can find some of these schools from some of the guys who have actually been there and done that, and try them out. I'm sure the comments will fill up with all kinds of stuff like it does, but if you have discernment, you can kind of go through and pick out some nuggets. Hey, that's the best I can offer you. I know you're not going to go join the Army under the Airborne Ranger option, which would make you really good at soldier skills. But, hey, it's a strange world in which we live. I hope there's something in there you can use. All right, I'll see you out there.